Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Julius Baer Generations Cup 2022. That's a mouthful. This tournament is part of the Champions Chess Tour, and like all the other events, it is 16 players, and they all play rapid online, and then there's a playoff, and then someone gets some money, and so on and so forth. What makes this tournament interesting is two things. Number one, it's called the Generations Cup. The oldest player in the event is in their 50s. The youngest player is 15 years old. There was a various qualifying stage. Legends of the game are playing. The current GOAT is playing, all right? Some of the young stars are playing. And the second reason why this tournament is interesting is because Magnus Carlsen and Hans Niemann are both playing in the event. What? Like, how has no one said anything, done anything? What? Huh? And today, there was some epic games on day one. Just amazing. Just incredible chess. From the old guys to the new guys, everybody. All right? I hope you enjoy the recap. Let's jump into some of the games. I'm going to show you some of the coolest games. I'm going to show you just amazing chess being played. I hope you enjoyed the recap. Now, here we go. So, Arjun Erigaisi against Magnus. Magnus plays a modern defense. This is the amazing thing about... And look at the eval bar already criticizing Magnus. The modern defense is a very, very tricky opening, very tricky. And it's one thing to just say, oh, you know, White has advantage by playing the 150 attack. The 150 attack is what Erigaisi is playing, right? Bishop e3, queen d2. Yeah, but I mean, Magnus just plays b5. Now, this is actually my g6 course. Magnus, of course, he does have the course, but whenever he, you know, tells me things to improve in the course, I generally improve it. That's a joke for people who don't have a sarcasm detector. He just has the course. So b5, right? And Erigaisi plays h4, very, very principled stuff. He's trying to instigate over here with h5. Magnus develops his knight. The move h5 now loses some of its power because black will go here. Sacrificing is just a little bit too much. This is just not enough here for white. We have long castles, and now Magnus shuts down the initiative of g4 and h4 and so on. So Erigaisi is like, well, you know, if I can't do anything, I'm going to play e5. Now, e5 is very close to already being completely winning for white. For example, if take, you can't take because of this, and the knight has to go back over here, and now e6 rips open the position. White goes bishop d3 and is just crushing. But you're not going to beat Magnus like this, right? And I mean, in general, we don't see Magnus oftentimes in these like very scrappy, crazy tactical games. I mean, the modern system invites romantic chess, all right? And I don't know how much of a romantic Magnus is like in a relationship way, but I mean, in chess, you really want to minimize the risk, right? But in these online events, he doesn't give a you-know-what. He just plays chess for fun. He plays b4. So danger levels, right? See, Magnus watches the content. So if pawn takes knight, this hits this, right? And not only does this hit this, you would love to take and make a new queen, but you're in check. So that doesn't work, right? So b4, Erigaisi has the choice here of moving his knight into the middle or moving it back. He chooses to move it back, right? Which is a normal looking move. It defends the king. This is under attack. Okay, knight d5 is not so scary. We just move out of the way. Yeah, but going backwards... Magnus senses that something is amiss in the position. He plays knight 7 b6. He develops another piece. He's not castling. There's no need to castle. If you castle, you might give your opponent the opportunity to start attacking you on some side of the board. Like, take h5. Suddenly, white actually has something to play for. You see the eval bar, right? Well, bishop b6, queen d7. a5. Every move is progress, okay? And now, when you thought Magnus was done kind of attacking, you know what, you know, he's gonna, or he's just gonna keep making some sort of progress over here. He also castles that way. He castles on the same side he moved all his pieces and all his pawns. And then he just takes a moment to slide his king to b8, always a useful move. Magnus also watches Ben Feingold, right? King b1, king b8, of course. And now he's like... All right, young gun, it's time to pay the generation tax. Queen a4. Yeah, you can take on d6. Arjun, you can that's fine. Arjun, what? Do you not... What? Like, do you think I'm going to take and let... What? Queen a2? Man, like, one guy's getting mated. Knight a4. Not queen b2. The king is coming out. Knight ac3. And now just a very cold-blooded move. Very nice move here by Magnus. Just bring the bishop back. Just bring the bishop back. There is no rook b1, and bishop b5 is going to laser beam over here. And Erigaisi has to sack his queen to keep his king alive and resigns with the white pieces in 26 moves. This was one of the most murderous games I've ever seen Magnus Carlsen play, and he beat probably a future 2800 rated player. Fabiano Caruana said if Arjun Erigaisi, like if he had to choose one Indian prodigy to hit 2800, it would be Arjun Erigaisi. Magnus hydraulic pressed him in this game. Oh, dang. Now, there were some other epic games. All right, Vasily Ivanchuk. If you don't know who Vasily Ivanchuk is, one day I'm going to make a video about him. I already did. It's called The Best Chess Interview on YouTube. Fascinating man, brilliant man. One of the best players of like the last 20 or 30 years to not be a world champion. Not ever, but of the last few decades. Now, regular start to the opening. Spanish, castles, b5, bishop c5, Arkhangelsk, right? a4, interesting idea, c3 to play d4 later. There it is, bishop b6. Man, all of this has been seen a lot before. And Ivanchuk just grabs a pawn. He's like, all right, you're going to give me a pawn? Okay, I will take it. Bishop g4. And then Prague takes on f3 to destabilize the center, and Ivanchuk takes with a pawn. He takes with a g-pawn. You know why he takes with a g-pawn? Because one day he's going to play king h1, and this entire opening of the position is actually going to be worse for black, not for white. So here comes knight h5, right? Prague is trying to attack the older generation. No respect for his elders. In chess, there is no respect. The respect is in trying to play the best moves and destroy your opponent. That is the greatest respect you can give in chess, by trying your hardest and trying to demolish your opponent and take their soul. Okay? f4. Counterattack has begun. Queen h4. Take. And now the cold-blooded king h1 top engine move from the 53-year-old. I think Ivanchuk's 53. Let me go look this up. Yes, he's 53 years of age. Man, playing king h1. Prague now plays bishop takes d4. And everything settles. He continues to attack the center with his rook. He's like, I want my center pawn. You can take b2. That's fine. Rook g1. 4 pawns each. And here comes Ivanchuk. Like a speeding bullet. Bishop d3. Bishop f1 kicking out the queen. Here comes the queen. Here comes the pawn. Here comes the bishop out, cutting off the rook from the attack of the f2 square. Rook g2. Now like this. And the pieces are just sort of moving to the squares themselves. It's a symphony, right? Bishop h6. At some point, white's position is going to be too much. Right now, the move queen f5 is crushing, with the intention to play rook takes g6. Just simple execution of the attack. Ivanchuk can win the game by sliding his queen forward 2 squares, and there is just no way that Prague can now defend the position. No way. Instead, he does it this way. Also looks good. Prague plays the only move not to get obliterated. Take. Bishop back to e3. Material is still equal, but the position is +5. +5 for Ivanchuk. Shark smells blood in the water, right? g5. Prague doing his best. Rook takes g5. Now, wait a minute. Where'd the eval bar go? Apparently, bishop g5 was the way to go. And after knight g5, bishop c4 check. If the knight were to come back and block, there would have been rook g7. Can't take, right? And then if the king moves, you just kind of do the same thing. He does it this way. The difference being, he forgot about this. That's the difference. He needed to take like this to have more firepower. I guess Ivanchuk wanted bishop g5 or something along these lines. But then here, there's queen e4, pinning the queen to the king. And you can't take here. I don't know. Time pressure as well, right? And here, bishop e6 is still a draw for white. Perpetual check. King gets chased around, somehow survives. But, like Josh Waitzkin said in The Art of Learning, it's not the first mistake that kills you. It's the second one. And Ivanchuk, unable to handle the pressure with about a minute, on the clock, 40 seconds on the clock, he blunders his bishop. He went for a brilliancy. He tried to sacrifice the house. Unfortunately, he lost a rook and a bishop in the process, and his attack flamed out. Prague played a few more consolidating moves. And credit to Prague, who fought back and put up a valiant defensive effort and steals the first game from Vasil Ivanchuk. I mean, just what a game from Prague. What a game from Ivanchuk. What a defense from Prague. And sometimes that's how it goes. Honestly, sometimes that's how it goes. That's why you don't resign in chess. You just keep playing. More games. Jan Krzysztof Duda, Ivan Šarić. We have a King's Indian defense. A closed position, which naturally means we're going to see some attacking chess. G5, H4, F5, counterattack by black. Knight H2, and black snags the pawn in the center. Duda evacuates, king goes to that side of the board. We have queen D7. White is still attacking. White shoves the bishop down to H8. The bishop now can't move. Rook D2, keeping everything. Rook G1, making sure everything's balanced. Remember, black is still up a pawn, but black can't really move. But black is up a pawn, but black can't really move, right? So knight F1, knight G3. Suddenly, Duda takes on C5. That looks ridiculous. Why would you trade that bishop for the knight? Well, no matter how black takes, black's going to start losing stuff in the center. So he loses this. All right, now we have a few more trades, and a position kind of settles. Stockfish at first doesn't actually see a way in for white. It doesn't. All the evals are the same. Plus 1.77 no matter what happens. And then Duda makes a move, right? Rook F8. And Duda's like, wait a minute. I'm about to go savage mode. And here, look, I don't know if you guys can hear the siren. It's New York City. It's going to take it a little bit while. You know, you hear it from a distance. It'll get closer. They're already calling the ambulance. Jan Krzysztof Duda plays King C2. The ambulance is getting closer. Do you know why? Because the king's going for a walk. King said, everybody calm the F down. I'm going to go. King A4. If you can't hear the ambulance, I promise I'm not crazy. There's an ambulance. Folks, instant replay. This dude just went King C2, King B3, King A4, King B5. Middle of an endgame. Oh my. Oh me, oh my. Rook H4. And now here comes the expansion on the queen side. Now Šarić is trying to trade off pieces, but at the end of the day, that is a problem. It cannot move. B3, Rook E3, Rook F3, and you can stop me from going over here. Here comes King C6. Rook E1 played by Šarić, check, takes, and takes. And the game is over. Šarić resigns. Oh my God. This was one of the most brutal treatments of a piece I have ever seen in my damn life. Oh my goodness. I mean, listen. That is brutal. I mean, savage. This dude put the bishop on H8 and said, if you make one move, you better stay right there. All right? And what did he do? He just took it. The final move of the game is him getting to the bishop. Just, what an incredible game from Duda. What a game. Now, the last 3 games I have for you are also brilliancies, okay? These are all games from the final round of today's event, all right? We have a F3, early F3 from Ivanchuk. Now, I suspect it's because he most likely did not want to play into a Najdorf, so he plays F3 right away. Now, black can play A6, but if black tries to play A6 and play a Najdorf, white will go C4. This is white's entire idea. White wants all the pawns. White wants to get Maroczy against all of this. Now, F3 is a move for sure. For sure, F3 is a move. But there is a line here for black that is known to be fine. It's known to take advantage of white's move order. And that line is E5, attacking the knight, and now not just the regular developing move, but the immediate move D5, right? You're not letting white play C4, and also, since white has not played knight C3, you don't need to play A6. So, Ivanchuk successfully steers the game to the sharpest possible theoretical line, not a Najdorf. Bishop G5, Bishop E6, and we are going to get a queenless middle/endgame. Knight C3 attacks the bishop. Bishop back to e6. Knight b5, threatening a fork. Absolutely no respect here from Ivanchuk for his younger opponent, thinking that the youngster won't see the fork. I'm just kidding. They're all very good. There's plenty of respect. King d8. You might ask yourself, why did Duda not play knight a6? I might tell you, I have no idea. I mean, I guess he just didn't want his pieces frozen, and he didn't want his king cut off. He also kind of probably didn't want the rook just stuck guarding this pawn. I don't know. I would ask him, but I can't contact him. If I could, I would invite him to the podcast. Long castles check, the king walks over, and knight a5. Now, Ivanchuk here doesn't have a threat. What he has are menacing pieces. And when you kick one of them out, suddenly the b6 square is weak, right? And maybe I'm going to go to e4, hit this, and then go here. So if you then try to kick this piece out, here comes my knight. Like, I'm just going to bother you. That's what I'm doing, okay? Rook g8, not letting the bishop move. Okay, now pawn up, and the bishop can move. Here comes my knight to d5. f5, wonderful. f4, freezing the structure. Takes, knight takes, bishop pins the knight to the king, so I cannot take your bishop. Rook d4 and king c7, trying to connect the rooks and bring them forward. Now white finally develops his bishop, and he's ready to bring his rook. All right? Look at Ivanchuk conducting the symphony on all three sides of the board. Just all three sides playing, okay? Knight c5, and here comes the rook. Rook a c8. Now Ivanchuk slides the king over. This is not the first time we've seen this. When you castle long, this is oftentimes a very good maneuver. King b8, a3, bishop g5, and suddenly it dawned on Ivanchuk that he actually has an attack, potentially. Rook b4. He has a lot of attacking pieces. Defense, offense. In the words of Mark Jackson, good defense, better offense. Right? Rook d6. Now another piece is coming. This is going to maybe go here, or here, or here to remove the knight from defense. Black plays king a7. So far, so good, right? Here comes the knight. That knight should have been taken a long time ago. By the way, if you're wondering why there's no bishop f4, gf4, rook takes g2, that's because after bishop f4, white would go here and just immediately come back. So king a7, knight d5, and one of the major defenders of the black position has fallen. Opposite colored bishops favor the attacking side because one of the bishops literally cannot defend against the other, okay? It's like when there's a guy scoring 50 points in a game and he can't be defended, you know? Kobe, Jaylen Brown, right? So that was who was guarding Kobe, right? My basketball modern day is good. My history is not that great. So rook d5, b5. Well, the pawn is guarding the king, right? So let's rip it apart, c4. He tries to create counterplay. Ivanchuk is just going to chop down the tree. There are now no pawns guarding the king. Take, take. Yeah, you can take that pawn. You can take that pawn. That's fine. Bishop d5. Look at these pieces. Now, bishop d5 was an inaccuracy. Low time once again. Knight c6 check would have been the better move. With the absolutely savage idea of bishop f1 hitting this, I think Ivanchuk missed that. Okay, I think Ivanchuk just simply missed bishop f1, which would have been incredible. But he plays bishop d5. Duda doesn't see the best defense, and now Ivanchuk starts throwing more pawns forward. The last piece to move, by the way. It's the last piece of his position. Every other piece got a chance. Here comes the b pawn like, what's up? It's my turn. Like the friend who shows up to a fight after it's all over. Bishop e7. I wouldn't know. I didn't get into fights as a kid. Rook c5. Rook f7, and the defenses collapse. Beautiful tactic here. If rook a6, rook e7 check would have been thrown in, and then he takes. And it took a little bit of time here. I mean, the major thing is that white has an extra pawn. Ivanchuk brings all the pieces forward. It takes 49 moves. Duda resigns. What a game. What a game. Ivanchuk finished the first day with 3 out of 4. He beat 3 of the people, and he was beating Prague. He could have been perfect. Perfect! But the next 2 games I got to show you also come from the last round. They're absolutely insane. This was a Hans Niemann game. This might have been one of the coolest games I've ever seen. So Hans is playing Vincent Keimer, recently minted 2700. He plays a Neo-Catalan. And Keimer plays the principled approach. He kind of shoves forward on the dark squares. So he's preventing movement here, 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 like all over the place, right? A3, bishop e7. And from the opening stage, Hans got a pretty passive position. Like, he was trying to put something on e4, and Keimer was just like not letting him make any moves. I guess pieces were sort of tied together awkwardly. And then here Hans thought for a bit, and he went knight back and was like, I'ma lock the center. Now, as the guy playing with the black pieces, you probably don't want to let him lock the center, because if you let him lock the center, I don't know, let's just pass back a move. Then white is going to go here, and then white is going to go here, and then white is going to go f4, and suddenly white is going to get a typical King's Indian game. The engine says one thing, right? So, well, but it's practically maybe actually kind of difficult to play with black. So, naturally, you don't want to let your opponent lock the center. You're going to open up the center and have the bishop here. But suddenly white is better. Why is white better? Knight c5. Here comes queen c3. And what? Wait, this whole time I thought this bishop is hitting this whole diagonal. Why would... And the knight jumps into d3. Hans with the counterpunch. Ducks under. Digs the hook to the body. The knight hits the bishop and the rook. And this is a fork. But I'm sacking the queen because I'm winning one back? Oh, knight e2 check. He sacks the rook. He takes the rook. He doesn't take the rook over there because this is hanging. He jumps in with the knight and moves the rook to b1 to protect the bishop. Yo, who is this man? Rook e8. Knight jumps back. We have a trade. Knight back to safety. White has two knights for a rook and a pawn. 9 times out of 10, two pieces are better than a rook. Right now is one of those times. Keimer at this point is down to like 2 minutes versus 9. No pun intended because he's German. Knight e4, and now Hans is like, I'm going over here. I'm gonna get my knight right here, c5, h3, get my king safe. Rook d8, here comes c5. g5, well, I'll go back, no problem. You're weakening your structure. Oh, yeah, look at you throwing all these pawns forward. Knight d6, give me that b pawn. Now here, Keimer has to play b5 because if en passant, there's rook takes knight, right? But instead, Keimer plays b6, which is apparently really bad. Why is it really bad? Well, it's really bad because now the white knight can move to c4 and attack the b pawn, right? So black had to go b5, preventing knight c4. He goes here, and now knight c4. And the problem is obviously that if black plays bc5, black is going to lose the pawn on a5 and have a really bad pawn structure, and white will play a4, right? Nope. You didn't see it, and I didn't see it. After knight c4, the threat is not what I just said at all. It's knight f4. Boom. There's no rook d6. I threatened the rook 2 ways, and on top of that, I threatened a fork. And the knight on c4 covered the rook, which would have covered g... Oh my god. Oh my god. And Hans Niemann, also on day 1, just like Ivanchuk, won 3 out of 4 games. Ooh! But there was one king after day 1. And I think you know where I'm going with this. Magnus in this game against Le Quang Liem played a Slav triangle system. It was a weird move order. h6, dc, b5, typical stuff. Typical ideas in semi-Slav and triangle positions. It got sharp real quick. Remember game 1? You remember how in game 1, Magnus started counterattacking with b4? It's not the same thing with b4, right? Here comes c5. Magnus was in a counterattacking mood today, it felt like. DC's like, you could take my... What? You think I'm not going to win that pawn back? Liam's like, no, I don't think you're going to win it back. Magnus is like, I don't care. I'm going to attack your king. No, but seriously, I am going to win my pawn back. Kaboom! Oh, that's devastating. If you take the knight on e5, queen g5 ends the game. It threatens the knight, it threatens mate 2 different ways, and on top of that, it threatens knight h3, which not only theoretically would have won the queen, the bishop also mates the white king. What the Yo, what did Magnus eat? He doesn't play chess like this. He plays surgical, nuanced chess, where he takes his opponent's energy slowly. This game, my dude has brass knuckles on, and he's aiming for the temple. Oh my goodness, knight f3, he rips open the king, and here come the rooks. But it's Magnus. So he uses the threat of the attack to devastate the white position. Liem, no disrespect whatsoever, has the worst pawn structure I think I've ever seen. Rook c5, king to f1, the king's wide open. King's house's windows have been blown off. all right? And the construction workers are on strike. Magnus is still a pawn up in the endgame, but dear Lord, does it feel like he's up like 7 of them. White's pawn structure's in disarray. Black has 2 pawn islands working very well together, and the king just waltzes into the position, and Liem resigns on move 43 as there is no way to protect against promotion. After day 1, it was Magnus up top with 3 wins and 1 draw, 10 out of 12, because they use soccer scoring, football scoring, 3 points, 1 point, 0 points. It's a big cluster of 9s. Prague, Eric Icey, after losing to Magnus, woke up. Hans Niemann, Vasil Ivanchuk. This is going to be an epic event. I want Vasil to demolish everyone. Everyone. All right, because Ivanchuk, when he's on, is a killer. All right, but we got Hans Niemann decimating fools. We got Prague, and we got Eric Icey decimating fools. Nobody's a fool in the event. It's a figure of speech. Okay, nobody get offended. Magnus Carlsen on his A game. You know, I wasn't really interested in this event to begin with. I'm not going to lie to you. But now I am. Oh, and if you had the patience to make it this far and go, where's Magnus versus Hans? Good thing you had the patience. Tomorrow, round 6. Hans Niemann versus Magnus Carlsen. Are you ready?